In this video, I'm going to share how to trust yourself and avoid gaslighting. But first, if you're new, my name is Michelle Ferris. I'm a psychotherapist and I love helping people create relationships at work. So what is the definition of gaslighting? It's basically when someone purposely makes you question or doubt yourself or your own reality. This is a very toxic behavior, common in people who struggle with narcissism, addiction, and or a lack of accountability. That's where you see gaslighting the most, because gaslighting is a way to get the focus off of the other person's behavior and hyper-focus it on yours so that they don't have to look at themselves and they can maintain the upper hand in the relationship. So it's also about power and control. Gaslighting also makes you the problem in the relationship rather than the other person looking at their own behavior, which is why it's so toxic. So let's get to the solution. So the first step for how to trust yourself and avoid gaslighting is I want you to identify gaslighting behavior so that you don't take it personally. So the more you get familiar with what does gaslighting look like in your relationship, what are those behaviors that you know make you feel bad about yourself? And I want you to write them down. Some examples of gaslighting are when they find fault in you, when they belittle your feelings, when they use your words against you, when they overreact to feedback so they feel like the injured party. Those are some examples of gaslighting. But I want you to take a minute and write down what some examples of gaslighting are in your relationship right now. Because the more you familiarize yourself with them, you could even give them a nickname like the volcano or the avalanche. That's going to help you depersonalize it. Because if I can say, oh, I'm being gaslit right now, I'm going to be able to let go of it a lot easier than me buying into, oh my gosh, that's the truth. What they're saying is actually true about me. With gaslighting, it never is true about you. Gaslighting is much more a reflection of toxic behavior, not your worth as a person. The next thing I want you to do for how to trust yourself and avoid gaslighting behavior is I want you to change the focus. Part of where we get stuck in gaslighting is that we're really focused on what the other person is saying because it's so hurtful. But the problem is that that's going to make it easier for you to fall into that trap and believe it. So what I want you to do is instead of focusing on what they're saying, I want you to focus on how it's making you feel. Because there are certain feelings that often get triggered when we're being gaslit, like feeling shame, feeling embarrassed, feeling afraid, feeling crazy. Those are the feelings that are going to tell you that you're being gaslit. Because again, if you can shift the focus away from their behavior because you don't really want to believe it and focus on how it makes you feel, that's going to start cultivating self-trust because you're going to start paying attention to yourself and not abusive words. And two, you're going to be able to use this as a reminder that yes, this is gaslighting behavior. This again is not about you. Part of gaslighting is we have to not take the behavior personally, even though it's being directed at you. I know how hard this is. If you've ever been gaslit, say me too in the comments. I'm right there with you, but this is going to help a lot. So the next thing you need to do to trust yourself and avoid gaslighting behavior is you need to value yourself more, because we can't trust ourselves until we like ourselves. We can't do one without the other. Self-trust and self-esteem go hand in hand. So what I want you to do is I want you to start valuing your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions, even if there's no evidence. I want you to do it like you would a dear friend. Because if a dear friend came to you with a gaslighting story, you'd probably be pretty empathetic and you would validate their feelings. You wouldn't go back at them and say, that's not true, you're being too sensitive. You'd say, oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened. That must have been really painful. So you can give that to yourself by treating yourself as you would a dear friend. One way to do this is to write yourself a love letter of compassion for all that you've been through in this relationship. Because that is the way to self-esteem, is to start having compassion for ourselves and value what we've been through, because you deserve that. To avoid gaslighting means you have to value yourself more than you do the person who's gaslighting you. No matter who they are, if they're your mate, your partner, your dear family member, you have to come first when it comes to gaslighting, because that's how you're going to minimize the impact of gaslighting and build self-trust in the meantime. So the next way for you to trust yourself and avoid gaslighting is to forgive yourself for past mistakes. Nobody is perfect. I say that a lot in my videos because it's true. So if you can look at yourself, warts and all, and say, you know what, I'm a good person no matter what. Because part of what happens in gaslighting is the other person hyper focuses on our flaws. And that makes it really easy for you to believe what they're saying. But again, just because what they're saying may have a grain of truth doesn't mean it's totally true. We all have faults. But accepting who you are as being unique is the way out of gaslighting. Because the more you trust yourself and like yourself, the easier it's going to be for you to minimize the impact of gaslighting behaviors. So the next step I want you to do is go watch my video on how to stop abandoning yourself. Thanks so much.